What's up, guys? I hope you're well. I was recently talking to a friend of mine and we had a really interesting conversation that I thought I'd share with you. I asked him, he was happy for me to share it because I think it will be of benefit to people to hear this and to understand this. Recently, due to what's going on in the world, he had been unable to work. So he was doing what he loved for a job. He was enjoying it. He felt fulfilled. And due to what was going on, he's had to stop. Now, he needed to earn some money. He needed to work. So he's now got himself a job in a supermarket and he's stacking shelves. It's nothing against this job. It's just not what he wants to do. It's not his life calling. And he was frustrated. He was upset. He was angry that this was the situation that he'd found himself in. And mostly because he had actually got to where he felt he wanted to be. It's not a case of he didn't succeed. He got the job he wanted. He had the dream job and he had the lifestyle that he wanted to be living. And through no fault of his own, because this was an uncontrollable factor. You know, we've all been subject to it. It's not within our control. This had been pulled away from him. And he was angry, and he was stressed. And I said to him, this was the the quote I gave to him, the soundbite. I said, sometimes we have to swim with the tide to get the strength back to fight against it. And that's what he's doing right now. That's what he needs to understand is happening right now. Imagine you're in a strong, powerful body of water and it's going towards a waterfall. And this is where he feels he's at. He feels like he's about to go over the edge and his life is just going to go crashing down. It's all downhill from here. And he's angry, he's frustrated, he's trying to swim against the tide. No, I'm not going to let it be this way. I'm going to resist it. Great attitude, right? You're not going to just fall to the whims of life. You're gonna put up some resistance. You're gonna fight against it. The problem is he's tired. Okay, he's tired because for the longest time he was fighting against this to not get in this position. But needs must, and here he is. But what's happened is he's in this position and he's still fighting it. Maybe now not actively, but he's in his mind, he's wrestling with it. He's angry, he's upset at it. He hasn't come to terms with the situation. And that's, of course, developing all kinds of stress in him, anxiety, which is then going out into the world in other ways. It's affecting his relationship with his partner. It's affecting the way he reacts with friends and with family, and his general mental well-being. It's not there. He doesn't have a well-being. He's in a bad state. And what I was trying to get across to him is sometimes we have to go with things. There's a reason, though you don't see it right now, that you've been put on a certain path. There's a reason why at certain points in life we do need to bow to certain authorities, to certain powers. Not because we are going to be subjected to them for the rest of our lives. Not because we give up and the fight's not worth the fight, but because sometimes you need to think about where to put your energy. When is it appropriate to fight against it and resist? And when do you not need to? A great example of this is, and this is something we'll all experience at a stage in life, is when you are growing up and you're at the stage where you're ready to move out. And this is a real significant stage in people's lives. Your late teens, your early 20s, you become your own person, you develop your own character, and you find more and more that you crave this freedom, this breakaway from your family and from your parents, and you want your own space, and you're clashing with them. And for whatever reason, the most common obviously being that you can't afford to move out, you find yourself frustrated. You find yourself resisting. going against the grain. You're staying around friends. You're staying out late at night. You're making a real point that you don't want to be here anymore. But you're not in a position to leave. You're not in a position. You'll be homeless if you go. And yes, it's an option. You can just leave. You can. And I'm not going to tell you it's the wrong option either. There is, of course, the option to just go out on your own and see if you can make it work. However, there are certain stages in our life where we need to just let that go, allow that to happen, because our energy is meant to be directed somewhere else. Instead of seeing it as a negative that you're stuck at home with your parents, start trying to find the positives. Start trying to think about, well, how much money can you save so that you can get a good start in life? Okay? What things do you get by staying at home that you wouldn't get when you move out? Don't always think about all the stuff you get when you move out. You know, the freedom, the ability to do this. Think about all the stuff that you now have to do. The extra responsibility that is put onto you. And when I was speaking to my friend, I said to him, look, you've got this job now. It's a very secure, easy job where you just come from this time to this time and you can work it. So allow that to relieve you of some of the burden, and use the energy that you've now got back from having that burden taken, because stress is exhausting. Being stressed out like that, it's like wearing a heavy backpack. It weighs on you and it carries through into all areas of your life. And I said, now use your rest of your time and your rest of your energy, not only to recuperate from everything that's happened because it's been a stressful time, but to then start getting a battle plan together. Go with the tide. And whilst you're going with it, start to plan for how you're going to resist again. Because the time will come. The moment will come where you can then fight against it again. But there's no point continuing to fight when you've got nothing left to give. So take some time. Allow your ego to break away from you and accept where you are. It's not accepting failure. I guess in some senses it is. But what I'm trying to get at is, and what I'm trying to say is that it's inevitable and it's part of the process. It's not a straight linear line. He's not going down the waterfall. It's not game over now. This is a dip. It's a crevice in something that's going to go back up. The opportunity for success and for freedom and all the rest of it, it's going to come back around. But in this very moment, you need to come to terms with where you're at. You need to find a bit of perspective with where you're at. And then start looking for solutions on how to get out of it. Start journaling. Start planning. Think about what got you here and what you can do differently down the line to ensure that this doesn't happen again. You want to capture these moments. When you've got a bad moment in your life, okay? Because this is how you really learn from mistakes and learn from falling down waterfalls. You want to snapshot it in your mind and you want to analyze it. You want to go deep. You want to understand what you did and what you can do in future to not be here again. Because yes, this was an uncontrollable circumstance in the sense that no one saw what was coming and it would be very hard to plan for. But, and I said this to him, he had one source of income. This one source of income was what he did and what he loved and what he enjoyed. He had no backup. He had no plan B, which is why he's now in this situation. He's in this circumstance. So it's important that we have plan B, plan C. It's important that we have the little thing behind the glass that you can smash in times of emergency. Okay? He's now learned that in hindsight through this situation. And again, this is what happens when you go in that river. I'm using this analogy of the river for the kind of tidal weight of thoughts that he's going through. When you're fighting against that, stressing out, you can't think. You can't see the picture because you're just struggling. You're just fighting. If you just lay in it for a moment not forever, for a moment. And as it carries you, take a moment to understand what got you here and what it's going to take to not only get you out, but to ensure that you never come here again. That this moment doesn't repeat itself in 5 years' time. What can you do to adjust? So I'm going to repeat the quote for you because I think it's a really powerful one. And it goes against a lot of what a lot of people say, because our thing is, and our ego is, that we should always be fighting against it. But sometimes, and there are these moments where you need to go with it. You need to allow it to happen to you so that you can find the sense of strength to then resist it in the right way. So just remember, sometimes you need to go with the tide in order to develop the strength to swim against it again. And as always, take care of yourself.